Attention remodeling entrepreneurs. Are you ready to rise? Ryan Paul Adams and Kyle Hunt are your hosts of Remodelers on the Rise. A weekly podcast where they interview today's most inspiring entrepreneurs from the remodeling world who share their journey and empower you to become the next remodeler on the rise. And now, here are your hosts.
Remodelers on the Rise, show number 6.
Welcome to Remodelers on the Rise. I'm your host, Kyle Hunt, and alongside me is co-host Ryan Paul Adams. Howdy, Ryan.
Hey, Kyle, what's going on?
Not much. This is Remodelers on the Rise podcast number 6. So let's get started by introducing today's guest. Our guest today is Bob Gockler with Kitchen Intuitions and Craftmaster Renovations, and he's in New Jersey. Bob has a ton of experience in general contracting and has a really good sense of design that is unique in the world of remodeling. He has successfully designed hundreds of projects from simple remodels to complete additions over 20-plus years in the business. Welcome, Bob.
Hi, guys. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, Bob.
So, Bob, the focus of this show, and I hope you're okay with talking about yourself because it's all about you, man. It's about you, your business, and your experience. I just gave you a quick intro, and I'd like to turn it over to you. Can you briefly tell us more about you personally and also your business?
Sure. Yeah, I'd be happy to. I've been in the remodeling business, as a kid. It was my first interest was building something, ripping something apart, and putting it back together. I actually started in landscaping with not college in mind, and decided that landscaping and deck building and outdoor construction was really the road for me to go down. So with a whole $300 in my pocket, I went out and bought 2 trucks, a dump truck and a panel truck, and started up a landscaping business.
What was this, 1910?
Yeah, with how much money? Repeat that.
Yes, it literally was $300.
No way.
I towed him in off of a farmer's field. And as a mechanic,
That's awesome.
with an engine hoist in my parents' backyard hanging from a tree, started ripping a motor out so that I could go into business. And
That's bootstrapping it, folks.
Oh, absolutely.
That's desire.
So, hey, it's whatever it takes to do it. At the age of 24, I had 25 guys working for me. I had 5-acre property. I'd built a 10,000 square foot warehouse. I had, all the boy toys, all the, the bulldozers, the backhoes, the pickup trucks. At such a young age, I look back on it now and think, wow, I was plowing snow for the school systems and condominiums and just crazy, crazy stuff. And then one day, some drunk driver hit me in one of my trucks and crushed a bunch of discs on my back. And I woke up in the morning and, I now had a career decision change that was given to me.
Big life change. Jeez.
Yeah. So, you just never know what's going to happen. Life, you just never know how things are going to go. So, I went out and went on my very first interview at a company called ADT Security, and I got the job there. And, I had a phenomenal career in corporate. I literally couldn't hold a job for more than 6 months there. It was the standing joke. I got promoted literally every 6 months. I went from an entry-level door-knocking sales guy out in Sussex County, New Jersey, which is pretty much cow country, and selling security out there was probably not the easiest thing to do. But being in my own business, with no marketing, no support, no nothing, it was easy for me. I had already done it. So, I went from that, and then I ultimately ended up on their corporate staff, and I had taken on a section of the business, which was a failing segment. It was a $50 million division, and it was, had 600 sales guys. Turnover was 300%. It was bleeding ink. And, 3 years later, we turned it around to a $350 million division. And then I woke up one morning and realized that, the corporate life really wasn't for me anymore. And, airplanes every day of the week wasn't my life. So I went into the home improvement industry. I left a phenomenal career at a very large company with a great salary and went into the home improvement industry.
Well, and you've done really well with it. Before we get started in the interview, Bob, you and I had talked a little bit about, maintaining just a superior high standard of quality for every job that you do. And it sounds like you don't employ any subs. You have your own full-time crews. Is that true?
It is, yep. I've had the same guys now for almost 8 years.
Can you talk a little bit about the advantages and disadvantages of that staffing model for remodeling business?
Sure, I'd be happy to. The ability to be able to bring guys up from the field that when they just get started, they're green. They don't know anything, and it's yours to mold them. And it was very painful in the beginning. I started out my business with really small jobs in areas that I really didn't want to work because I knew that as I grew my business and made mistakes, I'd have to rip stuff out and reinstall it, and there was a lot of learning lessons. But by sticking it out and having the right guys, instead of having constant turnover,
right.
You develop them, and it's a culture. It's not just a product. It's how does the product get installed? It's the integrity. It's the customer interactions. It's the prep. It's it's sweeping up at the end of the day and wiping it up with a damp cloth because little kids are walking around in their socks. It's completely a mentality.
Well, it's interesting that you just identified it as a product because it really is. You're packaging all of these things and all of these complicated pieces that go into a remodeling job, and you're packaging it as a product versus just a remodeling service.
Yeah, it is much more than a kitchen. It's the experience. It's from their very first phone call. It actually starts before your phone call. It starts with your identity on the internet. How do people find you? It's it's referral. It's word of mouth. It's how are your trucks outfitted? What do your guys look like?
And luckily, you've upgraded those $150 dump trucks and trucks these days. Ryan, why don't you go ahead and get into that next question?
Yeah, Bob, can you share a quote that you live by, an example of how you might apply this to your life and your remodeling business?
Sure. Actually, I have two. It's never late. It's never too late to be what you might have been. And I really look at that with my departure from corporate and going into my own business. That's what I always wanted to do. And here I was, 40 years old, on top of the world, and I was miserable. It was not what I wanted to do. And to me, it's never too late. It's never too late in anything in life. It's not just your business. It's your relationship with your kids. It's changing your business practice. So, I stay adaptable, and whatever I've got to do to be able to improve.
I hear that so often when I'm working with remodelers of, man, Kyle, I wish I would have brought you in, 10 years ago, 5 years ago. And that's usually my response too is, better late than never, right? We're here now. You're making improvements now. Don't worry about, what could have been. Focus on what's going to happen here going forward. That's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other one that it's more on my creative side because, truly I'm a sales and marketing guy at heart. Design is, whenever I draw a circle, I immediately want to step out of it. I am always looking for a different way to do something. It doesn't matter what it is. I am not complacent. I don't care what it is. It can be improved. It doesn't matter what it is. So, I'm always looking for that. And it's not just my idea. It's empowering the people in the field and everybody that you surround yourself with to think the same way. Don't just accept it just because it's never good enough. It can always be improved.
That word complacent, I think, is one I wanted to draw out there a little bit more. I think a lot of times I was just talking to one of my clients here recently, and they hired a staff person, and it started out, man, this person just is kicking butt and real proactive, and after about 4 or 5 months, some complacency sat in. That person's kind of sitting back waiting for people to give instructions instead of what was happening up front. So what you're saying there as a business owner, but also making sure, like you just said, and I want to emphasize it, your whole team, that's got to be the mindset. That's got to be the culture.
And it starts at the top.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, they follow your lead, and when you challenge people, they rise up. They always do.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Well, share a story of a time in your journey, Bob, where you encountered failure. If you could take us to that time in your life and tell us that story, and maybe share some of the lessons you learned from that.
It is a bittersweet moment because it was really a turning point in my business model. And really that topic for me is spotting the customer that's not right for you.
Mm.
And
Yep.
every single time, without fail, I go against my gut feeling.
You can feel it. You know it in your gut, the ones that are going to
Absolutely,
give you a
and
problem.
Yep. And I pay for it dearly, and it doesn't mean financially. It's emotionally.
Yep.
It's every step of the way with that customer. And I have been smart enough a couple of times during the sales process where people have already put a down payment down, signed paperwork, and I just got that bad feeling. And I've gone in the back, I've written out a refund check, and I've gone out and I've handed them their entire folder. No hard feelings. It's just not going to work for me.
What are some of those red flags that you notice? Like I know even in my business today that one of the ones that I stand by is that if somebody starts picking apart your contract and going through every single line item, it's usually a big red flag because there's a level of trust that hasn't been built then at that point. Is there something that you notice consistently?
I would say that I'd echo that. It's that exact same thing.
Okay.
I ask every customer before I even get started, tell me about your experience with remodeling and share with me, your best story and your worst story. I want to hear about it. And what happened through when you had a problem with something you remodeled, and how did you deal with it? And in the very beginning of the process, people don't realize it. This is a two-way interview. They're selecting a contractor and a remodeler, but I'm also selecting a customer.
Yeah.
So, I ask those kind of questions
Really?
up front.
Yeah, it's really important that you just identified that because not everybody is an ideal client, and you shouldn't say yes
Bob,
to everybody.
you got your guys, and you don't necessarily have work for them 3 weeks out. Man, shouldn't you just take this job?
The guys are going to pay for it down life's road. They are not going to be happy.
That's
Nobody wants to go to that house. We'll do the job, but no one's going to be happy being there.
Yep.
So, no, I don't. No, I don't want to subject the guys to it. I really don't. That's my responsibility to them to go find them great customers.
Yep.
Excellent.
Good.
Talk about, that aha moment in your business that maybe changed your life and the direction of, what you do today.
Yeah, my aha moment was about 5 years ago when I really changed my business model. And I changed it really as a result of I had applied for Qualified Remodelers Big 50. And I went through that process.
Molly magazines.
Yep. And I went through that process, and part of their process when you get to a certain step in it is all of your customers, your past 50 customers, are interviewed by a company called Guild Quality.
Yep.
You guys heard of that?
Very familiar.
And the results of that were just devastating to me. They loved the day they bought it, and they loved about 3 months after it was installed, and they hated the process. At the time, I had several project managers. I had several designers. They saw me on day one, and if there were problems, then they saw me or for final pictures, but they never saw me in the middle. And that changed my life. It completely changed my life. I was spending so much time and effort on the sales side, employing all kinds of people, and my customers hated it. And I was wondering why I wasn't getting the referral business. And I completely changed my model. And now I'm a hands-on owner. I'm on every single job, every single day without fail. And the customer, we take them shopping every step of the way. So nothing gets missed. And, I went from having no stars to literally almost 100% stars in every single category.
But it sounds to me, just the little bit that I know about you, Bob, is that you're a special kind of person. So you're probably not going to get that same type of person in your project manager or even your other salespeople. So how do you get a break? How do you build a business that if you're having to be there all the time, or is that you just love it to a point where it doesn't really matter?
I'm content with the size of my business. I have phenomenal designers, and I need them. I rely on them heavily. Fortunately, my kids are now getting old enough where they're now involved in the business, and they've taken a lot of that burden of the day-to-day running around, delivering material, picking this up. They've helped out a lot.
That's
so
great.
It's not a one-man band.
Yep.
But it's an owner that is much more involved than collecting checks and pushing paperwork.
Excellent.
Had you done any surveys prior to that? It sounds like you hadn't.
I had not.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, I mean, if I talk to 10 remodelers, throughout the month, the majority of them haven't. Well, why haven't you? Well, I just, I feel like I got a pretty good read on, what they feel. And I don't know, I just haven't. And it's such a simple thing, but it was your aha moment. It was the one thing that you look back to was when you got direct, honest feedback after the fact and realized, man, I need to change my whole process here to fix that. Getting our clients, we spend so much time with them and so much energy to get their honest feedback at the end of the project, whether it's through Guild Quality, which is a great third party, resource, whether it's even just, going to a SurveyMonkey or Woo-Foo and setting up a form and sending them a link, whatever it takes. Or like a lot of other people say, I'm going to go after the check has been collected, everything's done 2 weeks later, and I want to just interview them. And I'm going to let them know I'm going to do that. And I want to just get their honest feedback in person. Whatever it is, that step a lot of times gets overlooked. And let's make sure everybody listening to this knows how valuable it is to not let that slip through.
Yeah. Yeah. When I look at that information that you get back, because truly that's what it is. It's information. If I don't know what's wrong, I can't fix it.
Absolutely.
And they're not always going to tell me to my face exactly what's wrong. But to a third party, absolutely. They'll be incredibly candid.
Right. Now, have you seen your referral business or your repeat business pick up as a result over the last 5 years?
My repeat business was non-existent prior to that change.
Really? Interesting.
My referral business was non-existent.
Wow.
And now it's, I see customers on the street, literally I see them in a store and that, it's a hug and a kiss, hello.
Right.
And, let me introduce you to my friends. It's completely different.
They become an extended part of your family. They really do.
Yeah. No, they all friend us on Facebook. It's amazing. It truly was life-changing for me.
Is there anything in your business right now or the industry that's really exciting you?
In the industry, I'd say that it's the shift from the traditional styling and remodeling to all the new innovations that are out there, and how do you incorporate them in and look for opportunities to incorporate them into your projects and bring them to your customers so that in 2 years from now or a year from now or 6 months from now, a customer doesn't have a remodel and look back on it and go, oh, I wish I would have. Right. I wish you'd have told me. They come to me and they look to us as the experts to stay in touch with what is the latest and greatest and how can we incorporate some of those things into their projects so that they feel like they have a wow, whatever it is, kitchen or bathroom. It's all in the details. It really is.
It really is. Excellent. Yep.
And then, Bob, can you share with us, you have the two different businesses. You have the Kitchen Intuitions, and then the Craft Master. Explain for everybody listening kind of the strategy behind those two separate businesses.
Yeah, through my Kitchen Intuitions out of the showroom, really my strategy with that business is to be the local downtown shop where everybody knows to go get their cabinetry from. And it's not just cabinetry. It's our involvement with the community. We are involved. It's actually quite funny. We get hit up quite a bit for donations. And these are donations that we are so happy and privileged to be able to give back to the town. And we're involved in literally everything, whether it's with the schools. We had something called the Taste of Chatham. We're 300-400 people get together, and they have a sampling of all the different foods that are in town, and we were a sponsor of that. And what we donated in that particular one was a kitchen and a bath design, and it was amazing. People were bidding back and forth to get them. So really, it's the local downtown shop that really wants to be part of the community.
There's one of the people calling you right now about it.
Yeah. Sorry about that, guys.
That's right. No problem.
And then, do you find one to be more profitable or less hassle than the other, or do they kind of feed off of each other? The
kitchen showroom is certainly easier for me, but it's also it's the referral from my remodeling business. When people walk through the door, we want to identify from them, do they already have a contractor, or are they looking for full service? And if they already have a contractor, I don't want to touch it. All I want to talk to them about is how can we support that contractor and get to know them better and assist them with their layout. Through the remodeling business, it's really that it's the one-stop shopping. It's literally that we take their hand and walk them through all of it. And, people pick us really for that reason. It's A, the reputation, and then B, it's, the confidence that they have when they walk in, knowing that there is nothing that's going to be overlooked. And if there is something that comes up, we handle it. And one of the things that it's my policy, which is probably very different in the industry, is how I handle unforeseen circumstances. Unforeseens, as you guys know, it comes up on a lot of remodels.
They're gonna come
up. In our kitchen remodels, and we've got a bathroom that was recently remodeled over top of it. And we pulled the ceiling down, and the joists are cut, and it's not my house.
Right.
It's got to get fixed. My policy with that is I don't put margin on it.
I charge my
customers exactly what my direct cost is. I'm happy with what I made on their job, and I don't look to profit on their misfortune.
I like it. Yeah,
it's a value add.
Yeah, and that builds confidence, and people love hearing it, and I'm happy to do it.
I think everybody listen. All you remodelers that listen to this, don't let that one pass by either. Consider that. Stop and pause there and think of, something we're always trying to figure out is how can we differentiate ourselves. I'm guessing, Bob, that's something that comes up on every sales call you're out on, right?
Oh, it does. People don't remember the problem; they remember how you handle it.
Yep.
You're not, asking people to consider, the scope changes. As far as, well, let's add a bathroom. You're saying if we can't see something and there's an unforeseen circumstance that arises, we'll take care of it. We'll show you our costs, and we're not going to add, any profit or margin on top of that. I think that's pretty fair.
People are thrilled about it, and what I have found is they are more apt to do all of it right and not do anything halfway. There's no half measures. Yeah. When we've got some galvanized pipes that are suspect over the kitchen and we're going to replace them with PVC, they want to replace them all. It's a huge value add for them to do that at cost. Everything I'm doing, it's, they're getting it literally at wholesale.
Interesting. So before we get into the lightning round of questions, I want to ask one more question, kind of related to the things you're doing to grow your business or to generate new revenue. What are the top two things that you're doing, maybe outside of the previous client repeat work and referrals from those folks, to generate new leads and business?
My single best paid for source is it's up on house without question. We get more business out of house than we do out of any one single source.
Are you advertising with them or just having a good complete profile?
Actually, it's both. If you do not have a phenomenal profile, don't spend your money. You have to have both. Yep. So I'm fully invested in that, meaning we post all of our projects up on there now, and I use that as a platform for reviews.
Got it. Ours is awesome. They really are building out a tremendous social platform for this industry.
And then what would be number two behind that?
Really my own website, and it's really my own website. It's the online presence. It really is, and it's not just how does it get me leads. I certainly get leads off of my own website, and my own website. There's new content. It's never done. It's always getting changed. I'm in the midst of remodeling our website. It's going to be one of the new responsive sites, and it has to stay fresh, and it's got to stay fast, and it's got to stay mobile. If you're not on a mobile platform today, forget it.
Yep.
I don't know what you guys are always talking about that. People are still everybody's still going to the yellow page. What are you guys talking about? Yeah. All right. Anyways, that was supposed to be funny. You're supposed to laugh, Bob. All right. So now let's get into the lightning round of things. This is where we'll rapid fire through a series of questions, and you can continue to share your knowledge with us. Sound like a plan?
Sure, sounds great.
All right, so Ryan, why don't you start us off with the first one?
All right, what is the best business advice you've ever received?
I would have to say that it's really on the sales side. It's actually it probably can transfer into every side of your business. It's not what you spend; it's what you make. It's not the cost of a lead. It's your conversion of the lead.
Totally.
So, just because you don't have any money and you don't have the funds to do something, that shouldn't prevent you from doing it.
Right, you got to find a way.
Yep, there has to be a way to do it. Yep.
Good. Can you share one of your personal habits that you believe attributes to your success?
Yeah, it was probably, 30 years ago now that I saw the guy. It's Tony Robbins. It was I saw him, way back when, and it was the four letters. It was CANI, constant and never-ending improvement. That's really what I'm looking for. It's every single day. It's how can we improve myself, my business, and my experience with customers. So it's it's a whole, it's a recurring theme for me. It's always looking for the next right thing to do.
And repeat that acronym again in case people didn't catch it the first time.
It's CANI, and it stands for Constant and Never-Ending Improvement. And it was there's a whole description on it from Tony Robbins. If you've never seen him or never read any of it, it's a phenomenal book.
I have something on my desk here. It's the words Kaizen. I don't know if you've heard about it, but it's the Japanese version of the same thing. Mm-hmm. Just constant, steady improvement every day, looking for ways to get better, and not, again, being complacent like we talked about before.
So Ryan, you're just a little fancier. You got to go.
Well,
with the
I don't know where
somebody
mentioned that one time, and I just wrote it down. I looked it up online. I was like, that's exactly what I need in front of me every day.
Bob just simplified it for you.
Yeah, I can look up that one. That would be great.
So, Bob, what book would you recommend to Remodelers on the Rise listener?
I would say for my favorite all-time book it's not The Big That Eat the Small, it's The Fast That Eat the Slow. If you've never heard of the book or never read it, it's a quick, easy read, and it has nothing to do with the size of your business. It's how quickly do you adjust to changes, and how quickly can you modify, and it runs all the way through your business. It's sales and marketing. It's on the job. It's every single part of your business. Phenomenal book.
Good.
Well, and your top competitors, they're not going to stop. They're not going to go to sleep. They're not going to be complacent. They're going to continue to try to carve out, more and more market share. And, all across the country, I don't care where you are, that's happening right now. So, if you're going to stay put, I don't think that's a good thing. I really don't.
No, it's that first mover advantage is really what it boils down to. It's how are you staying ahead of your competition, and there's so many ways that you can do that. It's how do you keep your website fresh? There's inexpensive ways out there to do it. I use a service called Elance.
Yep.
I do the same thing on the marketing side. There's a company called CrowdShout that they will do all your web marketing for you, design marketing, and you got to stay fresh.
Absolutely. So, Bob, we ask, all of our guests to provide something meaningful and useful for the listeners. Is there anything that you could provide, a resource of some kind that might help some of our other remodelers that are listening?
Actually, it's a several-step process, but I'll probably give you the most important step of it. It's really in the pre-sales part of my conversation. Every phone call that I have with somebody starts. It's pretty much a scripted conversation, but it's tailored so that it sounds like it's the very first time I've said it, and it's personalized to each person. And as a part of that, it's preconditioning my very first time when I meet them. They know exactly what to expect, and one of the steps of that is talking openly about budget. Yep. Everybody has one. Everybody needs to know what it is.
Got to get it out there. Got to know what it is. Yep.
And so what I had done is I took a combination of some NKVA stuff, some NARI, a bunch of the different budgeting planning guides that were out there, and I combined my own. And it is available up on my website, and anybody that wants to, they could feel free to download it. And what I do with it, it's in an Excel spreadsheet. I send it out to every single customer. It's part of my, a step of my process. Before going out to their house, it helps them understand that, okay, well, why should I spend $70,000 on my kitchen, and what is it going to take to break that down and dissect it?
Sure.
Okay, well, you've got appliances, you've got this, you've got that, you've got this, and people can put their own numbers in there, and it's a phenomenal. Everybody that I send it to loves it.
That's excellent. I think that would be really useful And we'll make sure at the end of the show that we post a link to that resource at remodellersontherise.com, show 6.
Very good. So here's the final question, Bob, and it's a tricky one. It's a little long to explain, but you got to follow along, and looking forward to your answer. So imagine you woke up tomorrow morning, and you were in the same exact business, but you knew no one, had no sales, and only $500 of startup money. Man, this is sounding close to your $300 start. You should nail
already
this.
Been here, done this.
First thing, here, let me answer it for you. First thing I'm going to do is hang a motor from a tree. All right, that's okay. All right, anyways. And your life depended on you selling something in the next 7 days. You still have all the experience and knowledge you currently have. Your food and shelter is taken care of, but all you have is a laptop and $500. What would you do in the next 7 days to survive and generate new business? And remember, your life depends on it.
Well, it's actually how I started my business. Not just my landscaping business years ago. It's how I started the remodeling business. It's, I was in that exact same spot, and I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know a lot about their service today, but when I started my business, I actually used a lead generation service, and at the time it was called Service Magic. I think it's evolved to
Home Advisor. Yeah.
Home Advisor now, and it was a quick, easy way for me to purchase leads. And everybody says, I hear a lot about, they're not good leads. Well, lead's a lead at the end of the day. It's somebody that expressed interest. And I'm sure that, you could have a whole other discussion on it, but that's probably where I would start. If I literally needed a lead today and I needed somebody to go see, I would invest my money in buying some leads.
Yep.
It's for me, it would be my quickest way to get in front of somebody.
Excellent.
Very good. All right. And then finally, where can people get a hold of you, Bob? And is there anything else you wanted to share today?
They can certainly find me right up off of my website, which is just kmrenovate.com or kitchenintuitions.com. And I think I'd wrap it back up with that quote that we talked about in the very beginning. If you're thinking about making some changes, it's never too late to be what you might have been. So get started today.
Life's too short to wait for, all the important things you want to do in life. So just go and get it done.
Yep.
There you go. Well, thank you, Bob, for coming on the show today. We really appreciate you sharing your story. And just a friendly reminder to all of our listeners, please check us out at remodellersontherise.com. And if you can take a couple minutes to review and rate our show on iTunes. I just checked. We have 6 reviews on there currently. Thanks to Joe and Colleen and Brian and Spencer for the reviews. And if you guys could hop on there and leave some reviews on how you like the show, we'd appreciate it. So thank you all for tuning in, and thank you again, Bob.
Thanks, guys. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Bob.
Remember, Remodelers on the Rise listeners, to head over to iTunes to like and review our show. You can also find today's interviews, full transcripts, and additional free resources at remodellersontherise.com. On behalf of Kyle and Ryan, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.